10:59 a.m., Zagros Mountains, northern Iran. 48 men are already inside the mountain. They've been breathing recycled air in a steel duct for 20 minutes, listening to the hum of machinery through thin metal walls. 40 meters below the surface, zero communication with the outside world. And in exactly 60 seconds, they will either destroy one of Iran's most strategically vital military secrets or die trying. This is not a missile strike. No B-2 flew over Iranian airspace tonight. No satellite-guided bomb punched through reinforced concrete from 40,000 feet. 48 Rangers went in through a hole that Iran forgot existed. And here's the question that should be keeping Iranian military commanders awake right now. If the Americans already knew about the shaft, what else do they know? The iron factory beneath the mountain. To understand what was buried inside this mountain, you need to understand what Iran has been quietly building for the last decade. The Islamic Republic faces a fundamental strategic problem. Western sanctions have systematically severed Iran's access to foreign military hardware. They cannot buy Russian T-90s in bulk. They cannot import NATO standard armor. So, Iranian defense engineers did something genuinely impressive. They reverse-engineered, modified, and began domestically producing their own main battle tank variants, deep inside geography that makes conventional air assault nearly suicidal. The Zagros mountain range is not a hiding place, it is a fortress. Peaks exceeding 4,000 meters, radar masking terrain, natural thermal cover against satellite imaging. The Iranians chose this location because they understood the doctrine of their enemies. American precision strike packages rely on clean targeting data. The mountain denied them that. And so, for 8 months, American intelligence watched thermal signatures. They cross-referenced historical construction records from the Shah era. They ran signals intelligence against personnel movements. And eventually, a pattern emerged. Heat blooms on a southern slope that had no business being warm. Inside that mountain, 3 active assembly lines, 20 tanks in various stages of completion at any given moment, 8 finished vehicles rolling out every single month, 250 workers, engineers, and security personnel operating around the clock. The facility was networked across 3 underground levels, administrative and living quarters on top, the main production floor in the middle, 50-meter assembly lines, hydraulic armor presses, precision robotic welders, overhead cranes moving tank turrets like toys, and at the very bottom, a live testing chamber where completed tanks fired their main guns into armored backstops before being delivered to Iranian armored units. The facility commander considered his position inassailable. 180 armed Revolutionary Guard personnel, reinforced tunnel entrances on both sides of the mountain, 40 on the western cargo entrance, 30 on the eastern personnel entrance, 30 more running perimeter patrols on elevated observation posts, 60 internal security personnel controlling movement between levels.
He was right about one thing. A conventional assault would have been catastrophic. He was wrong about the shaft. The hole they forgot. 4 weeks before the operation, a 4-man reconnaissance team moved through the Zagros darkness with equipment worth more than most countries' annual defense budgets. They found the ventilation shaft exactly where the thermal imaging said it would be, hidden behind boulders on the southern slope, sealed with debris, entirely unguarded. The Iranians had installed newer ventilation systems years ago and simply abandoned the old shaft, never collapsed it, never welded it shut, never assigned a guard post. In their calculation, the passage was inaccessible, irrelevant, forgotten. The reconnaissance team spent 3 hours inside that shaft. They photographed every turn. They measured every diameter. They confirmed the critical fact. The shaft descended 40 meters through natural rock and connected directly to the facility's ventilation ductwork, with access grates opening straight onto the main production floor. They left without disturbing a single stone. 3 weeks later, 48 Rangers were read into the operation. The ticking clock. 7 a.m., 3 MH-60 Black Hawk helicopters lifted off with the Ranger Assault Force. 3 AH-64 Apache gunships flew escort, each Apache carrying Hellfire missiles, 30mm chain guns, and enough firepower to level a city block. They flew terrain-hugging routes through mountain valleys, burning below Iranian radar coverage, invisible to the theater air defense network. 8:15 a.m., landing zone, a remote valley, 8 kilometers from the target. The helicopters went to ground, engines running, crews waiting. The Rangers moved out immediately. 48 men, full combat load, weapons, ammunition, communications equipment, breaching tools, and among them a demolition specialist carrying something the Iranians had no defense against: thermite charges. Thermite burns at over 2,500 degrees Celsius. Steel melts at 1,370. Thermite doesn't just destroy equipment, it erases it. 10 a.m. After 1 hour and 40 minutes of mountain movement, using rocks, ridgelines, and tree cover to stay invisible to Revolutionary Guard observation posts, the Rangers reached the ventilation shaft, exactly where it was supposed to be, exactly as unguarded as the reconnaissance team reported. Delta Team established security at the opening. The other 3 teams went down. But what the Iranian commanders inside that facility didn't know was that while their guards checked vehicles at reinforced entrance tunnels and walked perimeter routes in the morning sun, 43 Rangers were already descending into the mountain through a passage that appeared on no current Iranian security map. The machinery noise covered the movement. The warm, oil-scented air masked their presence. By 10:45, all teams were in position inside the ventilation network, weapons ready, charges prepped, looking through metal grates at an enemy that had no idea they existed.
The facility was running at full capacity. Workers moved between assembly lines. Welding arcs lit the production chamber in blue-white flashes. Partially completed tanks sat on platforms. Business as usual. 11 o'clock. Ghost entry. The grates came off simultaneously across 3 levels. Bravo Team, 18 Rangers, erupted onto the production floor. The workers froze. The guards reached for weapons. Within seconds, the production chamber became a war zone. Iranian security fought from positions behind partially completed tanks, using the industrial equipment for cover. The Rangers fought through it, methodically, relentlessly, using coordinated movement to collapse each defensive pocket. 12 minutes, the production floor was controlled. Simultaneously, 1 level up, Alpha Team used flashbang grenades to punch through the administrative corridor. 30 Iranian defenders attempted to hold the narrow stairwells. In confined spaces, the advantage shifts towards whoever trains harder and reacts faster. Alpha Team trained harder. 15 minutes of close quarters fighting. The upper level was secured. Below everything, Charlie Team emerged into the testing chamber where 4 fully completed tanks sat ready for delivery to Iranian armored units. The guards there had perhaps 30 seconds of warning before it was over. 8 minutes after entry, Charlie Team controlled the testing chamber. By 11:30 a.m., all 3 levels of an Iranian classified military installation, defended by over 200 armed personnel, were in American hands. The burning. Demolition specialists moved with purpose. Thermite charges went onto every assembly line's primary machinery, onto all 20 tanks under construction, engine compartments, turret rings, ammunition storage, onto the hydraulic armor presses, onto the robotic welding systems that represented years of specialized Iranian engineering investment, onto the 4 completed tanks in the testing chamber. 12:10 p.m. All 48 Rangers were on the surface. Blackhawks were inbound.
The detonation order came through. Every charge ignited simultaneously. Thermite cascaded through 3 levels of underground infrastructure. The production floor's assembly lines collapsed into molten slag. 20 tanks in various stages of construction burned from the inside out. The specialized equipment, years of procurement, installation, and calibration ceased to exist. In the testing chamber, 4 combat-ready main battle tanks that would have been delivered to Iranian armored units within days were reduced to burning hulks. Smoke poured from both tunnel entrances as the Rangers lifted off and disappeared back through the mountain valleys. Iranian personnel losses, approximately 150. American casualties, 4 injuries. Tanks destroyed, 24. Production capacity eliminated, total. The fallout. Here's what happened in the hours after that smoke appeared above the Zagros Mountains. Iran lost not just tanks, they lost 18 months of production capacity at minimum. The time required to assess the damage, clear the facility, replace the destroyed equipment, resource the specialized machinery, and rebuild the workforce. The strategic timeline for Iranian armored expansion shifted dramatically. But the deeper consequence isn't measured in destroyed steel. Every Iranian military facility planner is now looking at their own ventilation systems, their own historical construction records, their own forgotten infrastructure. Because if American intelligence found this shaft through satellite thermal imaging and archived construction documents, then the question isn't what America knows about Iranian facilities. The question is what they haven't acted on yet. China's military attachés filed detailed reports within hours. Russian defense analysts began reassessing Iranian operational security standards. Every nation operating underground military infrastructure quietly began internal reviews. 1 abandoned ventilation shaft, 48 men, and Iran's armor program, built in secret over years, hidden inside a mountain they believed was impenetrable, burned at 2,500 degrees Celsius before noon. The most dangerous vulnerabilities are never the ones you're defending, they're the ones you forgot you had.